My sister invites our cheating father and his lover to her baby shower because he promised her a check. But our mother's check was bigger, and now she wants to mend bridges rather than bomb. I should start with the context of what happened with my father. About 8 years ago, my parents divorced because my father had been cheating on my mother for a couple of years and got his partner pregnant. He decided to file for divorce and be with his partner instead. Basically, the whole cheating, lover, baby divorce package. And I'm not saying that because I was a man. If my mother was the cheater, I would think the same of her now. And obviously, since my sister and I were already quite old at that point, my mom and I decided that we needed to get our father out of our lives. My sister was 19, I was 22 at the time, and for the past 8 years, I haven't had any contact with my father. But a couple of years ago, when my sister got married, my father apparently sought her out and begged for forgiveness because he wanted to walk her down the aisle. She said no and didn't even invite him. I thought that was it, but I recently found out that she did reconnect with him, and over the past few years, they've been reconciling. Personally, I'm fine with that. I can't forgive my father for what he did. I don't see anyone doing something like that to another person as good. But I know it hurt my mom to find out because up until now, she'd been pretending that she still had nothing to do with our father. So it's the lie that hurts. Keep in mind that my mother was never the type to make us choose between the two. Even during the divorce, she always maintained that she wanted us to do whatever we wanted and would never hold it against us if we decided to reconnect or forgive our father at some point. My sister could have been honest about the whole thing, but she chose not to. Instead, he decided to suddenly unleash it on me and my mom at his daughter's naming ceremony. Basically, on my mom's side of the family, they have a tradition where the baby's name is announced to the rest of the family at a party with everyone present. So they can make it a big event, which is what my sister did, following her mother's family tradition. I had him, my sister had him, and so this was a pretty big deal because it was a tradition passed down on my mom's side of the family. It was even more special to her. But my sister ruined everything by going behind our backs and inviting our father and his family to the event. We were shocked when my dad walked in with his wife and two kids. He walked in acting like everything was fine, greeting everyone like nothing had happened. I get it, it was awkward, but that made it even awkwarder. And we were even more shocked when my sister walked up to him, gave him a hug, and pulled him over so we could greet him too. Although he could see we were visibly uncomfortable and embarrassed, he said he'd invited him because with a grandchild on the way, she could use all the help she could get from the grandparents. He also said the birth of his daughter was important, a good omen, a chance for us all to get along. There was no need to forgive each other, just get along for his daughter's sake, and also to avoid holding on to bitterness. The problem is that both my mother and I didn't hold on to bitterness. We didn't think much of my father, but we weren't going to pretend everything was okay either. Obviously, we had a lot of questions, and I didn't bother to be polite. I simply asked him what was going on, and that's when he explained everything. She was trying to keep things under control, but my mom just got up and left after she'd said everything. She felt insulted that in a family tradition, they would ambush her like this without even asking her. I was about to leave too, but my sister pulled me aside and started trying to explain everything. And that's when the real motives of why she did what she did came out. Apparently, after her baby was born, she had been planning to quit her job to stay home and be a full-time mother. But her husband told her that it wouldn't be a feasible idea to quit her job completely because they needed their combined income to support the household. She didn't agree with that and had spoken to our father about it. So he was basically writing her a big check as long as she could attend the naming ceremony party and as long as my sister at least tried to get me to talk to him. She started telling me that she really needed, but I was just upset because it became clear that she was doing all this for the money and nothing else. And to be honest, I don't even think her husband was being unreasonable, because I know a lot of working mothers. It wasn't like he was going to make her handle everything alone. He was there for her, and so far he's always been extremely understanding and a good husband. So I don't understand why she wanted to quit her job knowing that it would create problems for him. But that's just my opinion. She can do whatever she wants in her marriage. The only problem I had was with the fact that she had basically betrayed my and my mom's trust because she needed a big, juicy check from our dad. And that's just being a coward. Anyway, after listening to her, I left. And when I got home, I told my mom everything, which added even more anger on her part toward my sister, which explains why my sister calls me a snitch. But I don't care because I think it's the right thing to do. My dad lied to her for years because of infidelity. My sister lies to her now for money. And I wasn't going to make the other person in her life hide things from her. So my mom was also very upset. Naturally, she told me it was pretty pointless for my sister to have done something like that because my mom was planning to write her a check anyway as a gift from grandma so my sister could save it for her daughter's future. And if my sister had had the common sense to talk about her problems with us, my mom could have written her a check and given her an even larger amount to help her out because it's not like she's short of money, and neither is this Kane. But instead, my sister chose to betray us and break our trust. Now she's losing her relationship with our mom because my mom has decided she's not going to talk to my sister and is going to step back, even if it means not being able to visit her own granddaughter for a while. And of course, any money my mom had been planning to give my sister as a gift is also off the table because she's really hurt. On the other hand, I don't know what my father will do because I haven't had a single word with him in years. Not even at the party. But according to my sister, that check is conditional on me speaking to him, which I'm not going to do because I'm not interested. We're not talking about a life or death situation here where if I don't speak to my father, she won't receive the money for an expensive operation. This is simply that she doesn't want to be a mother and work at the same time, which I see as a bit selfish. It's not that I think it's right or wrong, but it's not my responsibility to help her with that. Now my sister is demanding that I help her fix the situation and mend the broken bridges because I'm the one who betrayed her. But my mind's made up, and I won't do any of that. The bridges were already broken the day she took my father. The money thing is only part of it. My mother is already offended by what my sister did, and she has every right to be. That's the person who chose to cheat on her before making him more mature and getting a divorce before starting a new relationship. Still, my sister thinks I'm the one responsible for our mom turning against her, which I don't think my sister believes enough either, just that I'm like the last chance she has of our mom giving her a chance. But if you ask me, my mom is a strong woman with a lot of personality, so I don't think anything I say will change her mind. So, what do you guys think? Am I the bad one for telling my mom everything about what my sister did and upsetting her to the point where she doesn't even want to talk to her anymore? Update 1. I don't know why some people get the impression that I plan on apologizing to my sister, because that was never my intention. I was just hoping to get an objective look at our whole family history, because it's hard to be objective from the inside. That was never part of the plan anyway, because I think what she did was really disgusting and in bad faith. To be clear, if she needed money, she could have said so and we would have helped her. Although that's not the crux of the matter either, because it's not like she lost her job. In fact, my mom isn't even upset about the fact that she invited our dad to the event. She's upset about all the lying and hiding everything. That's just ridiculous. And I know my mom, and I know what kind of person she is. And I never would have had a problem with any of this if my sister had just been transparent and honest. For some reason, she thought she couldn't be, even though we've been supportive of her in every way. In my previous post, I said it was likely she wouldn't get the check because she didn't meet the conditions my father set. But apparently I was wrong, because that's not what happened. Fine, for her, I guess. It's been a couple of weeks since the incident, and a few days ago I learned from a friend that they had bought a new car and posted it. So if she's comfortable making those expenses, that means she has the check our father wrote her. They can't go from complaining about needing two jobs to making those expenses. And the fact that she hasn't bothered to contact me or my mother these past few weeks is also a clear sign that she got what she needed and we're pretty expendable. Which is positive, as it means less harassment from her. Obviously, she was my sister and my mother's daughter, which is why we loved her. And if she wants to side with our father over money, she's completely free to do so. But if she ever thinks she can repair the relationship with us, she's sorely mistaken. At least I speak for myself. I can't say exactly what my mother will do, although I have a feeling. Something I can only think will happen because our father is not a trustworthy person and likes to let people down. I know I haven't said much about him in my post because just saying he was unfaithful is enough to paint a picture. But I can sit and write for hours about the times he has let us down as daughters because of his infidelity. Many times he was out late working, when in reality he was doing other things, if you understand me. Maybe I'm wrong, and I really hope so for my sister's sake. But if not, I hope she doesn't think she'll have a sister to greet her. Update 2. To top it off, it's been a year since my sister and I stopped talking, and recently my mother and I decided to take a trip together. We went hiking. It was quite fun, and of course, we missed my sister and her company because at another time we would have been with her. But at the end of the day, we have to make the best of the situation. So we tried to have as much fun as possible, and boy, did we. I posted a couple of pictures, and somehow they reached my sister. And that was it. I don't know what happened, but after a year, she felt compelled to contact me upon seeing that post. She emailed me saying she was so upset that we had taken a trip together and we didn't even think of inviting her, knowing how much she loves adventurous and outdoor things. And it's true, she really does. She also mentioned that in the past, we used to plan to take those kinds of trips together, including her, and yet we still never thought of inviting her. She said that was quite hurtful. She added that she's extremely upset because in the past year, neither my mother nor I have been to visit her, and that she's had to deal with being a mother on her own without any help from her sister or her mother. And she's right. It must have been hard for her. But again, she was the one who messed things up and never bothered to genuinely come to us and apologize. She never even apologized to our mom. She just let it go and never bothered to contact us. And now all of a sudden she's upset and offended that we haven't included her in our plans or been a part of her life. I mean, I could say the same thing about her. It's not just ridiculous to play the blame game instead of owning up to the fact that she was the one who screwed up. She's pretending like she didn't do anything and has conveniently forgotten because we haven't had any contact with her for so long. First of all, anyway, I didn't know what to say to her, so I just didn't reply to that email because I didn't think anything good would come out of it. We just end up fighting and arguing, and I don't have time for that. It's just pointless. I did tell my mom, and she had the same reaction as me. I was quite upset and disappointed by my sister's behavior because she was pretending like she had no fault in all of this. And that was disheartening. We both agreed that the best thing we could do at that point was to simply ignore that email and let it go because we had nothing to say. Update 3. Since I didn't reply to her email, my sister decided to double down, and this time she was really mean. She wrote me an email telling me that she was quite glad I decided not to reply because she had thought about it and decided that I didn't deserve to be in her life anyway. I don't know what the difference is, how things were up until now, because she hasn't bothered to explain them either. Now she really explained other things she thinks about me. She called me a bitter old maid, which I didn't even know was still used as an insult, but my respect to her for being so creative. Anyway, she said that I resented her and was unhappy with the fact that she got married despite being younger than me. She said she was happy with her life, that she had a baby and a family, that she had everything she wanted, and that I was jealous of her for all of it. She also said that I was deeply unhappy with my own life. That's why I couldn't make a man stay. That's why I wasn't married yet, and my only life was my job. I mean, that's a pretty bold assumption considering she hasn't been in contact with me for almost a year. And besides, even if that had been the case, I don't think there would be anything wrong with it. I'm focused on my career, that's true, and I'm single by choice. The last relationship I was in didn't really work out for me, and after that, I decided to take a break. I don't see anything sad about that. I just see a person choosing themselves. Not that I have to justify myself, but oh well. Anyway, for the last month and a half, I've actually been talking to a guy, and it's going well. We're not exclusive or anything, but that's for now. If I see this possibly turning into a relationship and I'm happy about it, I don't understand why she would assume I'm jealous of her and her life, because I've never been the type of person who's super into marriage and babies, although I'm fine with people who do want that life. That's just not me. So for her to insinuate that I'm jealous of her is just weird, because she was supposed to be my sister. She knows me well enough to know that's not true. I guess she just wanted to hurt me, and unfortunately she couldn't, but she definitely made herself look foolish and lost all respect with that email. She calls me bitter and jealous, but she's the one emailing me because she's jealous of my relationship with my mother, a relationship that, by the way, is based on how much we love each other, rather than because she wrote me a check. I think she's the jealous one because she lost that with our mother. My father hasn't let her down yet, and he may never do so. But if he ever does, she's still digging her own grave. Edit. I don't know if my father still gives her a check. I don't speak to him or my sister, but from what I can gather through mutual acquaintances, she's not working at the moment, and unless her husband got a promotion, that money must be coming from somewhere. As for her baby, I know it was born healthy. We haven't met him, but that's because of our differences with his mother. We still care for him as a grandmother and aunt. Update 4. I last posted here in 2022, so I don't expect everyone to remember what my story from 2 years ago was about. That's why I left a summary above, but you also have the posts on my profile for details. This is so we can move on to what's happened recently and not waste time. My sister is divorcing her husband, although it's not something completely recent but has been going on for a month. All that's left is for the division of assets to be finalized and a custody agreement for my niece to be reached. You're probably wondering what happened because I was too when I heard the news. My father, for some reason unknown to me, stopped sending my sister a check. I don't know the details, but I do know the reasons for the divorce. Obviously, with less money in that family, my sister needed to go back to work. Her soon-to-be ex-husband has been talking a lot about her relationships with other people, and that's how I finally learned more details, although not everything you probably wanted to know. Her husband had a point because their daughter was already a little older. She could stay in the care of a nanny or in daycare, and she could return to work. But when you find the joy of spending all day at home without doing much, it's hard to go back. And I don't say this because taking care of a child isn't a big job, but because my sister always received help from her husband. If not as if he only dedicated himself to work, or at least that's what he's told us. Apparently, he got tired of her not wanting to work and that the money wasn't as long as it used to be. They survived by selling one of their cars and other valuable possessions, but my sister still didn't want to go back to work. That's why her husband is asking not only for joint custody so he doesn't have to pay child support, but also to avoid paying alimony to my sister. And he might win, because she was the one who chose not to work, and my father's checks are also considered income from her side, so she can't claim to have earned less than her husband during the marriage. While this isn't the opinion of a lawyer, it's just me writing what I think, I can't say the husband is the bad guy in this, even though I don't know all the details. But my sister took the easy way out, and those are the consequences. Which brings us to how I found out about her divorce. Well, it was my own sister who wrote to tell me, and also to try to get closer to my mother and me. She said she was going through a divorce and that it would be good for her family to go through it with support, which could indicate that she's no longer having a relationship with our father. My sister even apologized, something I thought I'd never see in my lifetime. My decision is that this doesn't change anything for my sister. She went her own way. I also showed this email to my mother because my sister talked about connecting with her, and she feels the same way I do. My mother believes that even though my sister wasn't unfaithful, for obvious reasons, she betrayed her trust in the same way my father did. If they had been honest from the start, nothing that's happened recently would have been so dramatic. But they chose the worst possible path, and for the worst possible reasons, so now they have to lie in the bed they made themselves. For my part, I feel a certain tingling in my hand to respond to my sister. I'm curious to know what happened with my father because I like to confirm the reasons why I was right. I also want to tell her that as a jealous person, she shouldn't expect anything good from me, but at the same time, I don't see much point in it. Maybe if the comments are okay with it, I'll do it. But if not, this will be my last update. Update 5. People really wanted an update. That's why, for the most part, they encouraged me to respond to my sister. It wasn't a great response from me. I wasn't very inspired to say anything. I just asked her why she wanted us in her life, if I was jealous after all, and also why she had our father to help her through all of this. It was sort of like, I told you so, but disguised in a way to get her to spill the beans. And she did. She used the strategy of attacking our father so we'd see her as the victim and perhaps support her because we don't like him very much either. But as you'll read later, it didn't work. My father betrayed her in a way. He began to prefer his children's events with the other woman to those of his grandson, to the point that it started to irritate my sister. And she must have also been desperate for us to forgive her because she said something that doesn't make her look good. But when she wrote it, she thought speaking badly about my father would help win us over to her side. My sister said she knew about our father's infidelity, which didn't surprise me at all. But I was surprised that my sister, just out of spite for my father because he wasn't the father she expected, told the other woman. That led to the divorce and to my father cutting the checks because she betrayed him and because now he has to pay child support. I'm sorry, but no check is worth all that drama. That's why my mother and I don't want him in our lives, and that's what she should have done. But losing everything, even her own marriage, isn't so strange when you only think about money. These are selfish motives, like my father's, and that's why he's moving on with his life, leaving people hurt and angry at him. My sister has inherited some of that, and that's why she's suffering. Suffering that has also been increased because her husband managed to avoid paying alimony or spousal support. They'll be 50-50 co-parents, so one way or another, she'll have to get a job before she runs out of money from the house they decided to sell as part of the divorce settlement. I'm glad to know this, aren't you? Although I know some people are enjoying the comments. If I were really happy and wanted to rub it in her face, I would have written that I've been in a serious relationship for years, and she isn't. But my sister has too much on her plate right now, and saying anything would only keep her in my life. The best I've been able to do is not respond, which is an answer in itself. Therefore, this will be the last of my updates. Edit. Just to complete my update a bit. No, my mom hasn't spoken to her. She's blocked her and has no intention of doing so. It's not a decision we made together, so it may change in the future. I'm only speaking for myself when I say I don't want anything to do with my sister. Now that I know my mom, I'm inclined to think she has the same idea.